Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Deepa Kamalakara, Pure Chief Operations Officer. Welcome you all to this webinar today. I have with me Mahati Dev Batula and Radhika Penepalli. I am very proud to introduce Mahati Dev Batula, a dedicated Pure Youth Ambassador and creator of Pure Minds. Some connectivity issues, please. So let me start. I am proud to introduce Mahati Devbatala, a dedicated Pure Youth ambassador and the creator of Pure Minds program. Having grown with Pure over the years, Mahati has translated her passion for service into meaningful impact through this global mental wellness initiative. We are excited to welcome life coach Radhika Penepalli to the Pure Minds community as well. She brings a compassionate approach to helping individuals build self awareness, confidence, and a positive attitude to life. Mahati will be closely working with Ms. Radhika to host meaningful webinars and grow our social media, creating a more connected and supportive space for everyone. Go ahead, take it away, Mahati.
Hi everyone. So my name is Mahati. I'm 16 years old and I'm a junior at Panther Creek High School in Frisco, Texas. And I'm the creator of PureMinds, a mental wellness and psychology-based program focused on making support more accessible for young people. I was one of the first Pure Youth ambassadors at 6 years old, and I've been a part of Pure since about 2016. I've always had a passion for volunteering and trying to make an impact on the world. As I got older, I began to notice how common stress, anxiety, and burnout were among students my age, but also how rarely people felt comfortable talking about it. This originated the idea of Pure Minds. Why can't we normalize talking about mental well being? I realized that while there are resources out there, they often don't feel accessible or relatable to young people. That gap really stood out to me, and I wanted to create something that made mental well being feel more approachable, more open, and less taboo. With this idea, I approached Miss Shyla, and she provided me guidance and encouraged me to expand the idea into a program. She then launched this program at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. So now let's go ahead and start our conversation with our expert. So, Ms. Radhika, I'm excited to start this conversation with you, and I've written down a few questions that I wanted to ask you. I hope that what we hear from you won't only help me, but also help other teens around the world.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mahati. And thanks, Deepa, for the nice introduction. And yeah, I'm really happy for this initiative, Mahati. And thank you for inviting me to share this space with you. And I'm excited to be here too and share my insights. Let's just jump into the questions.
All right, perfect. So first, I just wanted to ask and clarify, what's the difference between mental health and mental well-being?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mahati, because it's important to distinguish between what mental health is and mental well being is. They both seem like they are the same, but there are subtle differences between them. And mental health is like your mind's health, whereas mental well being is about how you feel about your life and how you feel about yourself. So, and mental health involves clinical aspects and treatments and diagnosis and all that. And it's about whether you have any mental illness or not. Whereas the mental well being is about the quality of your inner life, how you feel about your life. And it involves managing your emotions, feelings, and stresses, and how you handle your life's ups and downs. They both are related and they can be connected, but it's possible to have one without another, right? For example, somebody might have a mental illness, but still they might feel very happy about their life, and they might feel confident and purposeful, and they might be emotionally very strong. Um, whereas some people, they might feel very empty, disconnected, anxious and all that without any mental illness. So it's like, in their case, their mental health might be very good, but they might have poor mental well-being. So that's the difference. And I'll give you a very loose comparison. Maybe you can relate it better. Think of your phone. It's mental health is like how your phone is working. Is it that your phone is working properly or not, without crashing, without bugs? Whereas mental well-being is like how happy you are using your phone. So that's kind of a the idea. Do you get the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. That actually makes a lot of sense. That really helps clarify the differences in a really simple way. Thanks. So, following up to that question, why does mental wellness matter? Like, why do we need to prioritize our mental well-being?
Yeah. Yeah. Mental well-being is basic. Our physical health and how we feel about our life and ourselves is very, very connected. And our mind and body influence each other a lot. Actually, our emotions affect our body. We don't realize that, but they do affect our body a lot. So, and processed, unprocessed emotions. Like when we have emotions, generally we tend to push them down, divert from that and go on with our lives. But those unprocessed emotions don't just disappear. They can get stored in the body. They say that the body keeps the score, and it expresses what our mind cannot express, or what our mind carries consciously or subconsciously. So all that mental distress can show up in the as a physical symptoms in the body. So because of the mental distress, we can get headaches, gut issues, sleep problems, fatigue, and a lot of other symptoms actually. Many health problems are influenced by mind body connection. Actually, they say that when you are not at ease with yourself for so long, then it can show up as disease in your body. Disease. So physical health and mental well-being are very much connected, and not just the physical health. Actually, our productivity and focus also are affected by mental well-being. If you have poor mental well-being, it's very hard to focus, and it's very hard to manage even smaller tasks, right? And our mental well-being actually, it it makes us more irritable. If we are not feeling good, if we don't have good mental well-being, we get very irritated and restless, and that obviously affects our relationships too, right? So mental well-being affects our relationships big time. And it and the mental well-being actually influences how well we can handle stress also, right? We can't always control life situations, but we can definitely learn how to handle them better, and we can do that with good mental well-being, right? And in general, good mental well-being can reduce the risk of more serious mental health issues. I mean, it doesn't eliminate the possibility of mental health issues, especially when there are biological and genetic factors involved, but it definitely helps us cope better, right? If we get any mental illnesses, then with good mental well-being, we can cope well, definitely better. So, yeah. So, taking care of our mental well being is not just a luxury, it's a necessity in this chaotic world. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That really puts things into perspective for me, especially how deeply our mind and body are connected. It's not just like in our head, it shows up everywhere in our lives.
Yeah.
And that actually makes me wonder, so what does mental well-being look like when someone's overwhelmed or burnt out?
Yeah. That's a smart question, Mahati, because it may not look the same, especially when we are overwhelmed and burnt out. The mental well being may look little different. Um, in that case, it's more about slowing down and taking care of ourselves in kind ways than feeling happy and looking perfect, right? And one of the main and very powerful ways we can handle ourselves when we are overwhelmed is deep breathing. When we breathe deeply, it automatically slows our mind down, and it calms it almost instantaneously. So it's like a reset button for the mind. So I would say when you are overwhelmed, remember to breathe deeply. That's one powerful thing. And again, acknowledging that we are overwhelmed also is a huge thing, because realizing that, oh, I am overwhelmed, and acknowledging it, and then accepting that it's okay. Everybody gets overwhelmed sometime, and accepting that it's okay to feel that way goes a long way. So those are also very important things: acknowledging it and accepting that it's okay, it's part of life, right? And not beating up yourself for it. That acceptance is really important, because when you beat yourself up for feeling certain way, you're basically working against you, right? You are wasting a lot of your energy in resisting what is there. So it's like raging war, internal war within yourself. That actually drains you a lot. So accepting that it's okay is very, very important. And now think of how you would talk to a friend. If a friend comes to you and say that, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, Mahati, then you would obviously say you're extra kind to her and tell her that it's okay, things will get better, don't worry. And you are very compassionate towards them, right? You have to talk to yourself like that. That self compassion is very important. And remembering to take breaks, and that's an important part in taking care of yourself when you're burnt out. But you need to be mindful of what types of break you're taking, though, because not all breaks are same. Some breaks actually restore your mind, but some breaks numb you, like constant scrolling. That actually numbs us. We don't feel, we don't actually, we kind of distract from what we are feeling, right, when you are scrolling. But again, going for a walk, sleeping, or talking to somebody, venting with somebody, those things kind of make you feel better. So you need to be watchful of how what type of break you're taking. And um, the break should actually energize you or calm you down, but not distract you from the emotions. Okay. And again, emotional processing like journaling, that can actually calm your mind, and then give a better perspective. Once the mind calms down, if you keep writing how you're feeling, the the intensity of the emotions reduce. So journaling can be a good way. And um, and telling yourself and aiming to just do a good enough job, because trying to do perfectly when you are burnt out is going to drain you. So doing good enough work is okay when you are overwhelmed. And moving your body helps. Exercise, we all know that it releases feel good chemicals, that improves your mood. Um, and yeah, in general, realizing that feelings are temporary, that definitely calms your nerves. So you have to see emotions as like clouds in the sky. They come and go, just like that emotions also come and go. So even the overwhelming emotions, they go. So realizing that this is just a temporary thing and things will get better is going to help you calm down. um, and one important thing I would say, I mean, it might sound a little bit strange, but observing our mind, that definitely helps. And separating our mind from who we are. We are not our mind. Mind is just a powerful tool we use, right? So observing the mind and what it is saying to you, it's like most of the times it when you're overwhelmed, especially, it might catastrophize things like, oh my god, you are doomed, nothing is going to happen, like that. It's going to say certain things, right? And it might actually, when you're overwhelmed, it might say that you're useless or you're good for nothing. But all those are just the opinions, they're not facts. So when we learn to observe our mind, we tend to kind of give less weightage to the mind, right? So it's whatever the mind says is not true. That's what you will realize. So you kind of, that observing the mind creates a space between you and your thoughts. That actually helps reduce the overwhelm a lot. And yeah, you can do a lot of things like reevaluating your to-do list and postponing certain non-urgent tasks. All those things can help. And it's important not to isolate yourself when you're overwhelmed. You need to stay connected with the people you love and people you trust. And if needed, you need to seek professional help too. So, um, when you're overwhelmed, mental well being is not about feeling good. It's more about being very compassionate and kind towards yourself and taking care of yourself, even though you're not feeling good. That's what mental well-being looks like.
Yeah, I really like how you emphasize being kind to ourselves in those moments. It's like something that I feel like we forget to do. And those examples make it feel much more practical and doable, especially for someone being overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Ms. Deepa, do you have any thing to add
I
to that?
really, I really liked how Ms. Radhika was talking about creating that space between the mind and yourself to process things better. And that is something that we all could apply to our daily lives because we go through so much of stress, adults, youngsters, all alike. So that's a great perspective. Yeah. Mahati, do
Yeah,
you have?
100%. So, what kind of daily habits can help people manage stress and anxiety?
Oh, yeah. I mean, our ability to manage stress and anxiety depends a lot on mental well-being. So we can do a lot of, there are so many things we can do to improve our mental well-being. And I was just talking about, how mind and body are connected, right? So they're deeply connected. So to cultivate mental well-being, we have to take care of all aspects of health: physical, emotional, and mental areas. We have to cover all of them because they're all very much connected. And to support the physical health, exercise, sleeping well, and eating nourishing food are very important. And again, as I was talking about deep breathing, that's a very powerful tool. So in general, remembering to breathe deeply on a regular basis, that if we can if we can actually get to that habit, it's really good. And taking care of mental health, it's like, mentally, we have to reduce a lot of noise, mental noise, right? Because mind is always taking things from our environment, and it's so busy, so it needs some rest. So we need to kind of reduce the mental noise, maybe by limiting phone and social media, and taking breaks from constant input. Giving some space and rest is important. And emotions affect our mental well-being. So emotional processing, instead of diverting from emotions or distracting ourselves or numbing ourselves, emotional processing is important. um, and recognizing our emotions and then accepting them and then releasing them is important. So we can, I think, journaling is a proven way to process our emotions well. And gratitude journal, meditation, all those are good ways to process emotions and kind of increase our mental well-being. The gratitude journal is a easy thing to do too. Like, just write 2 or 3 things that you are grateful for every day. So that definitely helps. um, and connection and communication are also important, because when we handle things alone, it puts a lot of burden on ourselves, right? So talking to expressing your needs and talking to your friends, trusted adults, all those um, can help with mental well-being. um, and I think these are, I mean, there I can talk a lot more things, but these are few things that we can cultivate to improve our mental well-being.
Yeah, it's great to know what we can do in those intense moments, but I guess the next step is how do we build habits so we don't get to that point as often? Miss Deepa, do you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I really like what all Mr. Athikas mentioned, but all these daily habits are really good. But I feel like following these daily would be, and I think these following these daily would be really helpful. But I just want to ask, how easy or how hard are these to be to follow every day? Because we are talking about a young population here. So if you could throw some light on that, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, good point, Deepa. Yeah, I threw a lot of stuff. So yeah, but mental well-being is not about doing all of them perfectly. Just you can just pick one or two things and do consistently. That will improve your mental being a lot. So y- just pick one or two that you can adapt, and they're not hard and fast rules. So we can actually pick and choose according to our capacity and preference and all that. These are just few of the things that I just mentioned. There are so many other things that you can pick and choose, but consistency, I think, definitely helps. um, Again, it's important not to stress about not doing them perfectly, because that will add a lot more stress to it, right? So we need to be flexible enough to do as much as we can realistically. So consistency, one or two things consistently, that's the goal.
I like that. I like that consistency is one of those goals, like where you could just pick one or two things, and I think that is simple enough to for everybody, every one
Yeah,
of us to follow
yeah.
through.
And I can't
And
stress enough the importance of deep breathing.
okay,
That's a easy thing we can
okay,
you
I
know
think that's simple enough. Yes, yes. So following up on that, from your experience, I know you have a lot of experience doing these kind of mental wellness sessions. What are the most urgent mental well-being needs among youth that we should prioritize today?
I feel teaching self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-regulation, I think, are the most important things, especially for youth. I actually, for anybody, I think we need to prioritize mental well-being for sure. And these three are the main components, I feel. Helping people to identify their emotions, first of all, and then accepting, helping them to accept and kind of figure out their triggers. Um, all those things are really useful, and accepting them without judgment. We somehow judge that, oh, these emotions are not good, these emotions are good. I think all emotions are here for a reason, so we need to be curious, and we have that's what we have to teach, I feel. Like, being curious about why the emotions are there, accepting them, and then releasing them in healthy ways. So, providing tools for all those things, providing, all the right different tools for recognizing, accepting, expressing, and then releasing in healthy ways should help.
That's really insightful. Mati?
Yeah, so how can others support someone without like having themselves feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, wanting to support is really nice. But we need to make sure want we are not supporting others at the cost of our own well-being. So we have to remember that we can't pour from an empty cup. right? So if you want to support somebody, the first thing you have to do is take care of your own mental well-being, because unless we are healthy in that way, we can't really help others. And realizing how much we can realistically offer is also an important key here, right? And if you think you don't have the energy or space or time to support somebody, then you need to step back. It's okay to step back. Not feeling bad about not able to help is also important. And but if you think you are at a state to help others, then I think the what you can do is be there, be present, and be empathetic, be kind, and just check in with them how they're doing, and if they need anything you can uh, help with, and listen with compassion, without judgments, and without intruding on. And another important thing is trying not to fix their problems, because we can't really fix other people's problems, right? We can just be there when they're going through the tough times. That's all. I think presence is being there matters more than anything. And you have to maintain healthy boundaries too. So how much you can offer, and trying not to be there all the time, so that will burn you out. So, and accept when you can't help them. All those things are important. Having your own boundaries is important. And one more thing that can help is encouraging them to seek professional help, or talking to their trusted adults or a mentor. That is a huge help for them, right? So making sure that support doesn't overwhelm you, that's the main thing here, right? And don't feel responsible for somebody else's happiness. That will add a lot of stress to you. So just be there with compassion, kindness, and without judging.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's like the airplane rule, right? Like you have to take care of yourself first before you can support anyone else. I think that's
Oh,
something that people forget, especially when they really care about somebody.
yeah, that's a very good example, Mahati. Yeah, exactly.
And I like how you brought in compassion there, not just for others, but for ourselves too. That actually leads perfectly into my next question. What role does self-compassion play in mental well-being and how can it be cultivated?
Oh, that's a huge self-compassion plays a huge role in mental well-being, because it changes how we relate to ourselves when we are going through tough times, right? So that's a huge thing. And you know it's very important to acknowledge how you're feeling, and accepting them definitely is big um, in mental how you take care of your mental well-being. And when we judge ourselves we get stuck, right? It's like you are raging a war against yourself. So we are losing so much of our mental energy when we resist something. So I think when we are compassionate, we can accept, and then we can move forward, right? It definitely, self compassion reduces the inner conflict, and it gives us space to allow our emotions, and process them, right? And as I said, unprocessed emotions cause a lot of havoc in us. So if we accept them, we tend to process, then distract, like pushing them down, right? And yeah, it frees up a lot of energy to find a solution. So once you accept, then you are curious, little more curious, and why am I feeling that way, and what is the solution? So you can think more constructively with when you accept things. So acceptance and compassion goes a long way. And that's with self compassion you can bounce back much faster, right? Otherwise you will be resisting what is there. But if you accept, then you can bounce back much faster and think about solution much faster. And that's what resilience is, right? So self compassion and resilience, they both go hand in hand.
Yeah, that connection between self-compassion and resilience is really interesting. Miss Deepa, do you have anything to add?
I think you're muted, Deepa.
I'm sorry. So, following up on that, how can students build resilience to cope with setbacks and challenges in life?
Yeah, as I was just talking about self-compassion, that's a huge thing in building resilience. Resilience grows when you treat yourself with kindness and accept things, because once you accept, you'll go towards the solution. So, and again, resilience is understanding that setbacks are not permanent. um, and understanding the nature of setbacks actually help with resilience, because you once you understand what setbacks are, or kind of how they work, you will calm down immediately and then work towards solutions. Like situations, that situations change, emotions pass, and setbacks and difficult moments don't define you, right? It's if you know that, it doesn't define me, it's not defining the future, it's not about who I am, then you tend to think more about the solution and bounce back faster, right? And reframing failure is also, I feel, is crucial in building resilience, because we failures are part of growth. That's I think, I don't remember the exact number, but I think we all heard about how Einstein took so many he had so many failures before he actually got to the so failures are how you learn to do things better, right? And it gives you feedback of what didn't work. So I mean, there's nothing called failure actually. So no failures, only feedback. That's a good affirmation to remember, right? It's You just have to take it as a feedback of what didn't work and what needs to improve, right? Yeah,
I
and
like I like that you said one phrase that you've used,
yeah,
reframing failures.
yeah,
I completely agree with that.
yeah, yeah,
And I really love that phrase. Like,
yeah. I
it's a
love it
perfect
too.
way to put a perfect way to put rethinking on the failures that you've done. Do not criticize yourself more.
Yeah,
Think about what you can do better the next time
yeah,
so that you don't face that same thing again. So
yeah,
I really love that phrase.
yeah.
Thank you.
No failures, only feedback. Yeah, that's a good one.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and
That's absolutely perfect.
learning to manage your mind in setbacks, and when something didn't work out is important. That's self regulation, right? It's regulating yourself when things didn't go well. That um, that helps. And as I was mentioning earlier, observing our thoughts and feelings, observing our mind, is a powerful way to build resilience, because once you start observing, then there is a space between you and your mind, and then you can think with a bigger perspective and get to the solutions. And one more thing is to realize that your worth does not depend on life's ups and downs. That is also definitely helps, because when we think, oh, we are what our life's challenges are what we do, then it's hard when things don't go well. You think your worth is not there, and that actually creates a lot of stress in our mind. So realizing that we are not our worth does not depend on any of those things, right? That helps. And seeking help is a big part of resilience. That's not weakness, actually. Asking for help takes a lot of courage, and that is strength.
Yeah.
So reaching out to friends, family, and mentors is important. Mainly making sure you don't isolate during difficult times is important. Yeah, I guess reframing some of your ideas about failures, setbacks, and learning to manage our mind, those are important in building resilience.
So I have to ask this. Like we talked so much about how we could have better control over our mental well-being, and how we could use setbacks as like to push forward, and how to take care of ourselves, the resilience of it. Now the biggest question for me, now as a parent myself, I want to know how a parent can help with this process and make sure that child is healthy mentally.
Yeah, I love this question, Deepa, because as a mom, I I have the all these things like, and I learned a lot. My kids are adults now, and I learned a lot through the parenting. I grew a lot, and I would say, first of all, parents should take care of their own mental well-being, so that they can be good role models for their kids. Right? That's very important, and we need to learn to regulate ourselves first. First, learning to stay calm and regulate ourselves, then guide them. So I don't think we can guide them before regulating ourselves. Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's important, self regulation. And of course, that involves, to regulate yourself, you have to have self awareness, acceptance, all those things. So, and we have to learn to validate their emotions, because I think in some cultures, we kind of classify them as good emotions, bad emotions, and the difficult emotions we tend to push. But I think validating their emotions is very important. Learning to validate their emotions and talking with empathy. Again, validating emotions doesn't mean we let them do whatever they want to do. It's first accepting that the emotion is there. That itself is a huge thing. And once we learn to validate them and talking with empathy without judgment, then that creates an emotional safety for them. And I feel that is important for their developing brains. Right? And normalizing struggles, because kids don't know much about what everybody goes through, right? But as parents, we know that struggles are part of life. So I think normalizing the struggles, but at the same time being empathetic about what they are going through at that time is also important. Both is a it might be a little bit challenging to say that, yeah, this is part of life, but again, we cannot say that, oh, this is part of life, don't worry. Right? If they are really worrying, yeah, we need to kind of balance that. And again, as reframing failure and setbacks, what setbacks are, I mean, giving all that insights to them, when time is appropriate is important. um, and I feel self compassion is very important as parents too, because taking breaks as needed, and admitting when we are overwhelmed, and being gentle with ourselves even when we make mistakes and not able to do what we think we should do. All those things are important. That will actually make the kids learn how to be compassionate to themselves too, right? I think that way we are teaching them that we are humans.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, and humans make mistakes, humans do get overwhelmed, and kids um, get the permission that they can also do those things and be compassionate to themselves. Right? And stay, I mean, I think parents should try to stay connected with the parents even when they I mean, kids, with even if they pull away, especially in teenage. Kids do pull away sometimes because they are trying their independence and they are confused, and so they might pull away. But still, I think as parents, it's important for us to keep that connection, or keep that, trying to keep the connection
Mhm.
as much as possible, and being there for them. At least even if they don't talk to you, just being in the space with calmness and when a non-judgmental presence actually helps. And nudging them to open up is good, but pressurizing them might again add a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So that's important. And again, comparisons, I think, in some cultures we grew up with comparisons. I think it's very important to step out of our comparison traps. And I think our job as parents is to make them feel supported when they're going through challenges. We can't really you know I think as parents, I understand that we try to shield our kids from challenges, but we can't really do that. So it's just being there and giving them that safe space when they're going through challenges is important. Um, and Another is parents' fears and conditions. We have a lot of fears and conditions ourselves, right? And when it comes to our kids, our fears become a lot more, right? We try to protect them, and all those fears and conditions we tend to project on them if we are not aware of them, and if we are not conscious, we tend to project all those things on them. That is a very important, we need to keep in mind that it adds a lot more pressure to them,
Yeah.
because those fears are not theirs, but they're being imposed by us, right? So it creates a lot of confusion and pressure for the kids. Um, so we need to develop self-awareness, acceptance, and learn to regulate ourselves, and basically we have to work on our well-being. I think that is mainly the thing. And giving them age appropriate autonomy. As a mom, I know it's so hard, but that's needed, because the kids they're learning. They're learning to be independent, and they're learning to take their own decisions. So age appropriately, we need to give it to them. Um, and and I feel, separating ourselves with our role helps, because I realize that, you know um, if I think I am the mom, then it's hard to separate their struggles with our struggles. So that's important too. And one more thing that really helped me is remembering to connect before correcting. When kids are going through some tough times, then I think the connection is what is needed for them, not the correction. So if we don't connect, and if we correct before connecting, then they take it as criticism. So I think the connection, connect before we can correct, is, it's hard to do it, but yeah, it's a good one to realize. And I think, again, with my own experience, I feel like parents, especially moms, kind of carry so much of guilt about things that we didn't do, and things that we did, and things we didn't know that time, right? But again, forgiving ourselves for our shortcomings and conditions, and being open to learn and grow with them is important, because the times change, generation gap is there, and all those things, things change. So we generally are stuck with our own ways, but I think learning from kids, and expanding our awareness, and kind of being open to change with kids is important. And I feel that creates a heartwarming connection between kids and parents, and maybe that connection might be the most important thing we can give to our kids.
Yeah. As you were speaking, I was like, okay, this is personally to me. All these things relate to me. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Maybe I should be doing that. So I'm sure, as much as I am relating to this conversation, I'm sure whoever's been logging in and watching this webinar, they're connecting to it too. So I really love this. Thank you so much for this. And Mahti, do we have more questions for Ms. Radhika?
I do have more questions, but I think I'm going to save them for our next session.
Yeah. You have covered a lot of good questions, Mahati. And I'm so happy and impressed that you initiated this program. Because talking about mental well-being like this definitely helps reduce the stigma, and people are more open to talking about their stresses and their struggles, and there is a chance of seeking help, right? That's really important. And yeah, I'm glad really you're in, these programs are really good, and early awareness of all these things definitely can reduce more serious mental health problems, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Radhika. So I think that the biggest takeaway should be that mental well-being should be accessible, inclusive, and proactive, especially for young people. It's important that support doesn't just exist, but that it feels approachable, relevant, and available to everybody who needs it. Conversations like this are a really important step in making that happen because they help reduce stigma, bring different perspectives together, and push us towards more meaningful solutions. Thank you, Ms. Shaila, for pro encouraging this program. Thank you, Ms. Radhika, for being a part of this program and for sharing your wisdom and insights with us. And thank you, Ms. Deepa, for helping guide me through this project. We're hoping to bring more similar webinars and conversations in the near future. Please shoot us an email if you have any questions or any topics that you want discussed in the next session at pureminds@thepureglobal.org. You can also follow us on Instagram at pureminds.global for updates. We'll be posting all new links on